no one really liked us around. We were kind of the young upstarts at the time. We were broke. We were just, we were, no one there. These guys, they're all the in crowd and stuff and bands. They kind of just took us under their wing. They knew that they saw a future in us. They advised us and, really looked out for our best interests and stuff with nothing to gain from it at all. Yeah. But they came from kind of the same world in Baltimore and had a rough life, and they had kind of made it out of it. And I think they saw the same potential in us.
Well, awesome. I appreciate both of you doing this. I'm Adam, and this is about you guys and your journey in music, and we'll talk about the reissue of the album, the Hotel California you guys put out.
We reissue? Oh, the deluxe
issue. Sorry.
I was like, fuck, that was quick.
Deluxe. Yeah.
It's so bad the first time they had to reissue it.
Yeah, I think you had just released, or you're getting ready to release New Empire, like the volume 1 when I talked to you last time.
Yeah, when I talked to you last time was literally like right when we were in Europe when everything went to shit, or it was right before we went to Europe, but it was like right in that
February. It must have been before.
Okay, so we went to Europe, and then our tour got cut short. We got sent home, but that was literally after I think we released it the day so maybe 2 weeks before New Empire came out, the volume 1.
How many fucking guitars do you have?
More than I can play.
I know, dude. That's insane now.
Dude, I'm ordering 2 more. I'm getting a Gibson Super Jumbo, like this blue one, and a Martin.
You're obsessed, dude.
Dude, well, you saw me do coke before. You know how I snort. That's how I do this too. Everything.
You have more than me now.
Oh, that's well, at least you know how to use yours.
Well, yeah, that's so funny. So both of you guys did you both grow up together in LA? Is that what I remember?
Not together, but both in LA, yeah.
Okay.
We met when we were pretty young. I knew Jay from when we went to like kindergarten together. But though you've known him since like early days, right? 14, 15. Yeah. We've all known each other for a really long time.
I was like 12.
And then he's also known Funny for his whole life. They went to like preschool there, that whole thing. So we've all known each other for a long ass time.
And what part of Los Angeles did you grow up in, Jordan?
I'm from Shadow Hills, which is just outside of Burbank, like 5 minutes north of Burbank. Little horse town called Shadow Hills. So I grew up with horses and a billy goat and shit.
Oh wow, that's cool. So moving to Nashville wasn't too big of a change, I guess.
No, not at all. No, it made sense for me to move here for sure.
It really did.
And Johnny, you were in what, Glassell Park area?
Glassell Park, Atwater. Those are the 2 places I was raised.
And that was what, right? That's like our downtown area, I believe.
Right out. It's like if you go to Hollywood, there's East Hollywood, then there's Atwater, then there's Glassell Park. So like Glassell Park is getting like by Echo Park.
It's like now it's like all hipster central down in like Echo Park.
Dude, the funny thing is Echo Park used to be like one of the worst ghettos in LA, but those damn white hipsters move in and clean it up, and now we can't fucking gangbang there anymore.
I think it was the very first like Fuck Yeah Fest that they did. It was in Echo Park, and I remember going. It had to be like 2004, maybe, and it was pretty sketchy. And then it got.
Oh yeah, dude. Echo Park, Glassell Park's still really bad, but Atwater too. Like they used to be really rough and tumble neighborhoods, like Hispanic neighborhoods, a lot of gangs and stuff. But yeah, they got gentrified. Yeah, I wonder what happens to all the people who like were from there. Where the fuck do they go?
I don't know. Yeah,
but yeah, North Hollywood too. North Hollywood's like that, all cleaned up. It used to be the shithole of the world.
You don't see many gangbangers anymore. It's like the culture shifted. It's like it got cool to dress like a skater. For everyone. So that's what shifted.
A lot of the gangbangers too. They had to like Antelope Valley or like out by La Quinta, like the desert. They had to move further out. So like. Now all the LA gangs are based in like Riverside and stuff. So, those outskirt areas got way worse as far as violence and stuff goes.
Yeah, Hemet and shit.
Yeah. Shit
like Hemet. Because I was in San Diego, and there's like Temecula, Hemet, and all that kind of getting out.
I love Temecula. I used to get drunk at the winery there, dude. I get fucked up.
Well, Jordan, how did you get into music? Did you come from a musical household?
No, my parents were both like actors. They wanted to be actors. And I got into music when I saw Tom Petty on MTV when I was a little kid. I was like, I just want to be just like that guy. So I got a guitar, grew my hair out long, got made fun of, had holes in my jeans and shit.
Fucking
And
dirty hippie.
such a fucking dirty hippie. Yeah. I get made fun of. But yeah, Tom Petty was my inspiration. I learned all of his songs. Then I got into Red Hot Chili Peppers and Faith No More and Nirvana and all that stuff. And I just wanted to know how to play all those songs. So I would just sit there and listen to the songs and try to learn them on my guitar. And that's kind of how it started.
Wow. Did you start bands growing up as well?
Yeah. My first band was like in 5th grade. It's called Bleach after the Nirvana album.
Record. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was my first band. And then I started another band called Upright Radio. Then I joined Johnny Three Tears band with J-Dog called Three Tears. And then still had Upright Radio going. And then we put the music up on the internet for Hollywood Undead. And then everything else took a halt. We saw that the Hollywood Undead thing was working so well. And it was so much more fun too.
Yeah. So, okay, real quick, Johnny. So I think you said you started off into hip hop, right? Or how did you get into music?
That's predominant. Well, my parents kind of the same. They love like classic rock. So I grew up on my dad's albums, which were like, Neil Young, Tom Petty, Bruce Springsteen and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And as I got older and started going to school and everybody listened to rap. So that's when I started listening to rap. But all of us are kind of from that same school. We grew up on like classic rock through our parents, but all got into hip hop through when you start going to school, you listen to what everybody listens to and you're like, oh shit, this is hard. In the West Coast, obviously that was during the heyday of Tupac and Biggie and stuff. So Wu-Tang was out. Those kinds of things kind of shifted what I listened to, but I always still listen to like the classic rock stuff. I still to this day, I still listen to the same shit. All my playlists are from like 1999 and shit.
Exactly. I found my old cassette tapes in a shoebox and it's like, oh shit, I still listen to the exact same fucking shit.
Yeah, I don't like it. There once in a while something new will come out. I'm like, oh, that's dope, but never like to the same degree of the music. Maybe it's nostalgia, but it doesn't the grunge period, the bands were they're all so fucking good. And I just you don't hear that anymore. Like the angst in it. Most rock is so pop now and polished. Like It doesn't have that same emotional drive, I guess, that Nirvana had or Alice in Chains had. To me, I don't get that same whoa shit. So I just stick with what I know.
Yeah, or if I find a band I really like fuck yeah, this might be my new fucking jam. And then I listen to their other songs and they all suck. They have like 2 good ones. It's like, God damn it.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of bands anymore where you could buy the whole newer stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Because people aren't really putting out albums. So it's like push the single instead of like buy the album.
No one has the attention span. No one's buying right. We just put out a full album and you really realize why, because the lead tracks do real well. And towards the end, it kind of just drifts off. People, I forget what the number is, but someone said they release like 100,000 songs a day on Spotify or something ridiculous.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's like I think it might be in the millions.
Yeah.
Like insane.
Some insane number. So the attention span is so short. No, like when we were young, you buy the album, it was like an event. It cost $20. So I'm gonna read the insert and listen to every song. Those days are over. So for a band, it's just like a big waste. You basically put out a bunch of songs and no one really listens to them. So even we're going to move to that. Hip hop's been doing this forever, like the mixtape vibe.
Yeah. Or they'll put the singles out on like the big 12-inch records.
Yeah, dude. Or like put out singles and then put out an album when you're done putting out the songs. Cause it really doesn't serve any purpose to put out more than 1 or 2 songs at a time anymore.
Mm-hmm. You guys, you think you're going to go that route? Is that what you said?
I think everybody's going to go that route.
Yeah.
Slowly but surely, like, because making a record and selling a record, recording a record, all that stuff, there's a big cost involved and you can't recoup because no one's going to buy it. You remember like Best Buy, Target, they had these big records. Best Buy doesn't have any anymore, and Target has like one little aisle of albums and it's only like Taylor Swift and Billie Eilish and like, so
the biggest albums there are.
We're lucky we caught the tail end of that. Like I remember when our second record came out, they had huge cardboard cutouts of the band with the CDs stacked in it at Best Buy and stuff. which was pretty cool. And those days it's just a different world now, and you have to kind of adapt to it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Wow. Well, real quick, Johnny, what was the first instrument you learned? Obviously, you got a bunch of guitars.
I still haven't learned one.
What did you attempt to learn first?
No, I play bass. I play
bass in the band, right?
Yeah, and then I'm working on guitar.
Oh, okay.
I'm okay. I'm not there yet, but dude, next time you interview me in 2 years after the next COVID, I'll be really good.
After the next COVID.
I'll impress you with a solo, dude.
And what was your first band? I mean, you were in something. You were in Three Tiers, and then Jordan joined up, right? But was that kind of the first project?
That was my only band outside of Hollywood. We did that, and then we stopped doing it. Jordan did Upright Radio. I didn't do, and then that, so there's like this lull where we kind of drifted. Everybody was doing their own thing, and then we started doing Hollywood Undead, and like he said, that kind of put everything else. The interesting thing is we all were doing bands for so long, and you kind of, dude, you lose hope that it's ever going to work, because nothing ever happens. Mm-hmm. So we just kind of made Hollywood Undead, like, fuck it, let's just make shit we want to make. And that clicked, which it was interesting, because when you're trying for so long to get something out, and then you finally go, well, fuck this, let's just do what we want for the hell of it. And that's what finally clicks, and you finally get somewhere. So it's a lot more fun being in a band when it's doing well than when it's not,
Sure. What was the, early on, you guys said that it clicked. Were you seeing a lot of people at the shows, or was there a song that kind of made it for you guys, online? I mean,
it was our streaming numbers.
Oh,
right
it was.
Off the bat. Yeah, we were number one on the we put our shit on MySpace, and they had their lists of the top artists, and there was top signed artists and top unsigned, and we were number one top unsigned artists every
years.
Yeah, for years.
Oh my god.
Yeah, millions of streams a month. I don't even remember the exact numbers.
It was weird because it was all organic. We didn't have a label or anything. The only thing we did was make songs and put it out, and it got so much traction just organically and naturally that then we started kind of taking it more seriously. Like, okay, shit, this really. And then dude, we had Elektra and Atlantic and Interscope all trying to sign us. It was it really was kind of one day or one thing, and that it was because we're all broke, we're trying to make this music, and all of a sudden we're in board meetings in Burbank and at Atlantic Records, and we're sitting down with Jimmy Iovine and Interscope, and it's pinch me, because it was bizarre the way it all went down. I don't think it's ever happened twice, so we're pretty lucky in that sense.
That was crazy. Jimmy Iovine, sitting down with Jimmy Iovine, the guy who produced my favorite Tom Petty record.
Yeah, he's got John Lennon's piano that he played Imagine on in his office. He's got letters.
Oh my god!
Tupac framed in his office. You're sitting there. You're like, Jimmy Iovine's a fucking legend.
Yeah.
And we're just a bunch of rat kids making music on the internet. And all of a sudden, we're sitting with him, and we were at Atlantic, and there was a bidding war, all this crazy shit. And we were like, dude, this is actually real. So it's wild stuff.
Yeah. Were you guys doing a bunch of shows around LA at the time, or was
you just played a show when we put it out?
Oh my god! It was just the streaming numbers that kind of. It was
literally just we were just doing it to say fuck it. And then once we got signed and we started going, okay, now we got to make a record. Then we obviously had to go on tour and stuff like that.
We did some secret shows at Viper Room and stuff to prepare for tour. And
did you play under a different name? I've heard of bands doing that.
Yeah, we did Minutes to Midnight.
Yeah, that's right. What
was it called?
Murder After Midnight.
Murder After Midnight.
We
did 2 shows at the Viper Room secretly. And then it was really easy we had all been playing in bands forever, but it's a different kind of band and amalgamating everything. So we did some warm-up shows at the Viper Room, but we had already in our other bands had played the Whiskey and the Rainbow and all those places down there. So it was pretty natural, the progression. The real trip was just having people you're selling out shows when you used to beg your family to come. Can you please buy a ticket because you're paying to play,
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah, and then to put out that record and have it just go, platinum, it's done so well right away. That must have been such a huge, obviously you're seeing the streaming numbers, but it's will that translate once the album comes out? And obviously,
for sure.
Yeah, dude, I was like, where the fuck is the money? Because we didn't get any.
Yeah, we didn't get shit.
That's the only thing that was on my mind.
Well, going in, then having the success was going into American Tragedy. Was that something that you guys were, looking at those numbers at this point? Are we going to be able to keep not recreating, but continue progressing with this? Are people going to continue to care, or did you not even think
I
about
honestly
it?
thought we were better by the time they always say, you have your whole life to write your first record. And, I thought we were American Tragedy is probably my favorite album, or at least number one or two. And I thought we went in a much better place for that than we did the first album, because that was so like rough and tumble. None of us had been in a real studio before. We'd all, we were like bedroom studios, and all of a sudden we're at like NRG, and we were much more, I think, acclimated and ready for American Tragedy at that point.
So you recorded Swan Songs where just other spots? They didn't make you go re-record it when you signed to the major label?
They tried to, and then they ended up liking the shit we did in our bedroom better. It had the magic on it.
The rawness.
Tried to redo vocals and stuff. Yeah, just that raw, shitty sound was kind of like what made it cool.
Well, it's funny is you see that having come back now with like SoundCloud rap. It's like, dude, the production is like terrible, but it's huge. It was kind of that same thing. Like we went in NRG with a big producer, and we came out of it, and they're like, no, the bedroom stuff. Like, there's something you can capture in that kind of setting. I think you can't when you're in some giant $2,000 a day studio. It's much less personal,
Yeah, actually, it's interesting because I've interviewed people that had songs do really well like over the pandemic, and they're like, yeah, I recorded it on like a USB mic in my closet, and then a major, somebody will sign them and ask them to re-sing it or recreate it, and it just doesn't work the same way. And I'm wondering if, the emotion of singing it that first time, like, are you able to recreate that, especially in a bigger setting? Like,
that's happened so many times recording where like, okay, let's just do the scratch take, like on an SM7, we'll just do the scratch take and lay it down so we don't forget it. And then we're like, okay, now it's ready to do real vocals. We'll go on this $10,000 microphone, and the scratch track is better. There's something about like the spontaneity or something, like when you're recording.
It's the rawness, like you mean it because it's the first time you say, you repeat something.
It's like imperfect, and that's what makes it cool too.
Yeah, it's like sorry, go ahead, Johnny.
Pitch issues, little tiny, all that stuff sounds good. Like it sounds human, and then sound like like a robot or whatever.
Yeah.
No, 100%. I come from I was on the radio for a long time. I was doing radio when we talked to you last time, but there's something about listening to these DJs that were on 50 stations around the country and how polished and over
that radio voice.
It was just like it was just the station I was at in San Diego. We were in an independent station that had been around for a long time, but it was like they gave us more of that. It was a little bit more raw, and there was something cool about hearing the guy doing the weekend show like fuck up on the air. It was like, oh, that's it was
you're
cool
listening
to hear
to a person. It makes it human and it makes the connection more real, I think. That's one of the things I mentioned earlier, why I don't like a lot of modern rock. Not all of it, there's some good stuff out there, but it's like so polished that it doesn't sound like rock music, even though the progressions and that they're rock, but it's so clean that I don't get the chills from it because it doesn't sound organic or whatever it is.
It's like that with everything. People like the real shit. They like honesty and the real thing. Like even with like if you watch like Jay Leno or like any of those talk shows now, like all those are fucking failing, or Jimmy Kimmel. They're all failing. People since Joe Rogan started just the real conversational shit, not this squeaky clean fucking bullshit fake conversation they have with suits on. It's like people like the real shit.
Yeah, they're just there to plug their movie and tell a story about how their kids fell in trampoline, because it's like the story's already set up. They know what to ask.
Exactly.
They know what to say. Like a good free-flowing conversation is actually, interesting.
Yeah, 100%. That's why I started doing this. I mean, I was in radio and they would cut the interview that I did to like, a minute and a half. And I'm like, what the hell? Or they'd ask them about what their favorite Mexican food restaurant is in San Diego. And I'm like, well, who the fuck cares? What are you gonna start going there? Like, are we getting paid by Miguel's or something like that? Like, I don't understand. Like,
those pre-asked, they're because we still get, what's the craziest thing that's happened to you on tour? It's like, dude, I can't tell you how many times I've been asked that. It's just so fucking repetitive and dumb. Dude, one time I got drunk and fucking fell off my bunk. It's like so like, ugh. And there's no actual. You're not talking about anything. They're not listening, and I'm not paying attention either. It's just bullshit.
I will ask you a pretty generic question at the end. So, but other
That's
than that,
okay. You're allowed to.
I keep it. I try to keep it more of a conversation.
What's the craziest thing you've done on tour? That's the question.
Yeah, he's gonna come with
now
that.
I've got to figure out another.
He was just
question.
scratching it out. Okay, not that one.
Well, that one's gone. Since doing, the first record kind of in the basement recordings, in your room recordings, like when it came to, because I guess Empire Volume 1 was already recorded because it came out in the early pandemic, but either Volume 2 or when you even going into Hotel California, were those records, did you ever go back to kind of that same
Dude,
vibe?
we still record, like where Jordan's sitting right now, Charlie's sitting right now. We still record there. And granted, it's a nicer room, but we still do half the shit on all our albums is recorded at home.
Really?
Yeah, we'll, like he said, dude, we'll make stuff like, hey, let's write some scratch stuff, and we'll go to the studio to redo it, and it's lost its luster. So yeah, we still do a lot of recording in home studios.
Yeah.
Wow. And that you've been doing that since, the beginning.
Since we learned our lesson on the first
yeah.
record, like, dude, even on the second record, like Coming in Hot was done in his bedroom. I mean, there were a bunch of them where I can't remember everything, but yeah, like just fucking throwing it down, drinking beer, we'd barbecue and we'd fucking track.
It sucks having, because a lot of times when you work with producers, they'll change things just for the sake of changing it. And I don't
stamp on it.
Yeah, putting their stamp on it. So
Mhm.
it's very fucking annoying. So that's like one of the main reasons why I got my own studio, is so I could build tracks that aren't just demos that then they go and change. Like it could be studio quality enough to be used.
That makes a lot of sense. Like with that, when did you start learning was that something you just picked up on your own, just learning how to record?
Yeah, our original singer had his own studio, so that I learned from him, and then ended up getting my own thing because it was kind of annoying having one guy dictate, who records and who's on this and what songs we write. So it's like I have my own songs that I want to write and record. So it's like I bought the shit and just kind of taught myself, and I still do the same thing to this day. Just come in here and write whatever happens. I don't really like a lot of the times it's not like, oh, I'm going to write a song for Hollywood Undead. I just I write music because I still look at it as like a fun hobby. Like I enjoy doing it. I enjoyed like writing songs, and most of them probably don't work for Hollywood Undead, but it's the best feeling in the world to me, is like when a song comes out of the air and all of a sudden you listen to a song that you've just completed and it's done. That's the best feeling in the world to me.
Yeah. I mean, going back real quick to the, talking about record sales and then putting, singles instead of albums, when just looking at just kind of the success then of Notes from the Underground, I mean, that album was #2 and like #1 in a bunch of countries. And it's like, if you're looking on paper, it's that's one of your biggest records, and that one doesn't sell as a gold album. And that was probably around the time when everything started to kind of move to the streaming world.
Well, yeah, like even when Swan Songs came out, that was the end. That was like on the downhill spiral of CDs selling. It had already started, because you're talking 2008 or 9. It was already moving in that direction. By the time Notes came out, there was a lull before Spotify and these streaming sites, and when records weren't selling, where there was nothing, like, because there was no streaming alternative. So Notes from the Underground sold really well, but it drops off because everybody who wants the record got it, and everybody who's going to steal it or stream it, I don't care if they do, already is doing that. And then so Spotify started to kind of take off after that. And then, it's built obviously a lot since, but there was a lull in it where no one wanted to buy records and no one was streaming off streaming sites. So that kind of fucked with artists. And obviously Spotify and stuff, a lot of artists complain about it because the pay is not, whatever they think there should be more money. But if it wasn't for Spotify, everybody'd be fucked in a lot of ways, because people would still be listening to it, but you wouldn't get a damn thing out of it. So
right, yeah, because it was people downloading albums or sharing them with each other, like Napster or whatever, LimeWire.
Yeah,
when those came out, yeah,
that's how I got our own music. I had to go download it illegally. Our own shit. It's like, damn, I don't have that one. Okay, I gotta go on LimeWire.
Yeah, LimeWire, that's what it was. Kazaa and LimeWire.
Yeah.
Kazaa, yeah, LimeWire. I will say though, I have your records on vinyl. I have I think maybe I just have Volume 1 of New Empire on vinyl. But
yeah, that's another thing that's big now, is the vinyl throwbacks. Everybody want that. So like we're probably like this last record, this is probably the last CD we're actually going to print, because I have like a new car and it doesn't even have a CD player. It's like over. So people who want something physical are going for the vinyl now because it's more collectible and it's kind of got some cachet as opposed to a CD. So I don't think CDs are going to be made. The only place they still sell CDs is in Europe, so they might make them there. But over here, I think it's over.
Yeah, there's no CD players in cars anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Do they even sell CD players like a boombox? Who the fuck would buy a boombox?
Yeah. You gotta lug it around. Like,
yeah.
Dude, everybody streams music now. There's no point.
Right. Yeah.
But the records, people like vinyl. That's like a collectible type thing, I think.
For now.
People will do like the cool colors and like the limited pressings.
Well, people buy them because they think they might be worth some money someday. Someone might, not ours. Ours will be worth less, but someone's might be worth more.
I'm hoping yours will be worth something.
I'll buy it off you, dude, just so you can say that.
Well, I want to talk to you guys then. Yeah. So I think you said, Johnny, that the guys in Good Charlotte kind of helped you out pretty early on, right? With the band and stuff.
Yeah, well, we were like, no one really liked us around. We were kind of the young upstarts at the time. We were broke. We were just, we were, no one. These guys, they're all the in crowd and stuff and bands. They kind of just took us under their wing. They knew that they saw a future in us. They advised us, and really looked out for our best interests and stuff with nothing to gain from it at all. But they came from kind of the same world in Baltimore and had a rough life, and they had kind of made it out of it. And I think they saw the same potential in us. And while most people were writing us off, those dudes, Joel and Benji, really looked out for us, and they let us go over to their house and like eat and stuff like that and go swimming. And, they let us.
Yeah, they took us to parties and shit. They picked us up in a limo and took us to parties with them. Like they didn't want anything in return. They're just like.
They would DJ in Vegas. They let us stay Joel had like a suite at the Palms or wherever it was, and he let us like sleep on the couch. Him and his girl were in their room, but we were like, they come out and there's just 5 dipshits laying there. They never wanted anything in return. They were just good guys, and I still have a lot of love for those dudes for that, because it really meant a lot to us, especially at the time.
Yeah, and they helped. I mean, they were on Volume 1, I think, right?
Well, they managed us for the record before New Empire.
Okay.
And while we were recording that, we didn't have I love those guys, but it just wasn't working, management wise. But they actually manage us, and they're great managers. We're just probably too heavy for like what they do, but they're still friends. We still talk to them and stuff like that. So they managed us later down the road, which was like a no-brainer, because they helped us long before they were doing management stuff. They're really good people.
They are. Yeah, I called Benji for advice like a year ago. He had such good advice, actually he's given me advice a bunch of times. One was when I moved here to Nashville from LA, and I was like depressed at first. I'm like, damn, I just made a huge mistake, because I moved away from all my friends, my mom, my 2 brothers. I was here alone, only with Johnny, who you look at the guy. You don't want to hang out with that shit. No, so I called Benji, and he's like, hey, he gave me good advice. He's like, don't question it or second guess it for 2 years. Just, you made a decision, you trusted your instincts, so just go with it. And after 2 years, then you can ask yourself if it was the right or wrong decision. But he's like, it takes 2 years to plant roots and to feel it out. So, and I did that. So no more worrying or regretting if I did it or not. And then after like even 1 year, I was like, thank God I fucking moved here. There's no way I could have stayed in LA, especially raising kids. And it's just a better life out here for our family. So it's like, it definitely was the right decision. So I'm glad he gave me that advice.
Yeah, that's what took us out here too. Was I have 2 kids, and it was like they weren't in school, and I'm like, we gotta get out. And I remember having that panic attack, like driving from San Diego, like getting in the car and being like, shit, we're leaving everything. Like this is gonna be
I loved
scary.
it, dude. I was drinking the whole drive. We got pulled over in Flagstaff. I was already fucked up while my wife pulled over. I was like, take me home, Big Daddy. Yeah.
Take me home. You can, I think from what I heard is you can drink in the passenger seat in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, in Tennessee, but we were in Arizona. We got pulled over, and you're not allowed to there, but I hit it between my legs. I'll tell you something funny. The cop pulled us over because he didn't give us a ticket. It was really nice. He came in, he saw that we had 2 kids, or the kids and the dog and a cat. We were driving. And he's like, where are you guys heading? I was like, oh, we're moving out of California to Tennessee. He's like, oh, the country of California, huh? Because they set their own rules. I was like, exactly. So he let us go, but I never looked back, dude. I was like, fuck it. And you know, dude, I think both of us we've toured, but we've never lived anywhere else besides LA. And so it's really hard when you don't know what the experience is going to be like. But once we went, and like there's like forests and green stuff, and like, you know, the air is breathable and like all those things. It's like, I recommend it to anybody. You know, you got to.
We're friendly. It's so weird moving here and everyone's waving at you and shit. You're like,
that was the one thing I noticed too.
And then
why are all these people on the street waving to me?
Like, do I know them? And then I went back to California to visit, and I'm used to waving at people now. For guys walking down the street and I'm driving past them, I'll wave. And when I was in California, I did it. And the guy just mad dogs me. I'm like laughing, like, oh, I forgot. You're supposed to be a fucking asshole in LA.
Gives you the finger.
My bad. You can't be friendly here.
Oh wow. Well, let's talk about the new album, what'd you say, deluxe version, because you have Jelly Roll on the album, which is rad. He's a Nashville guy.
Yeah. That was probably one of the cooler parts about living here, is working with a dude like that. You know, I don't think we'd have that opportunity out there. The music scene here is so much more vibrant than LA. You know, LA used to be kind of a mecca in the 80s. All the bands would move to LA, you know, Guns N' Roses and all those bands. And it had like that factor to it. Now I think Nashville is what LA was back then. So, you know, there's a lot of people want to do music move here. So you have such an eclectic group, and like every kind of music you can imagine is being made here. And it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's one thing that I thought I was moving to a country town, and you were actually the person that said, nah, man, like there's everything here. And I moved here, and sure enough, I mean, there's so many people from so many different genres of music. I haven't met a whole lot of people that are in the country music scene as long as I've been here for 2 years. And there's everyone's either in, you know, like some sort of like emo pop punk band, or like a rock band, or like not.
Yeah, it's a mecca. I mean, dude, like our BMG's office in LA is like this little tiny office. Here it's like a giant building, because most of their acts are based here. The one thing I miss, dude, is that LA cocaine, man, right across the border, ready to sniff. Now, you know, who knows what's in it.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, there's a lot of gnarly stuff going on.
That scratch and sniff stuff I got over there.
Well, so with Hollywood California, you put the album out, and then did you guys write a handful of other songs, or were they all written and recorded during the same time period?
Everything but Jelly Roll. We always over record because, you know, we have a lot of guys, and everybody you know, we're pretty prolific when we're in the studio. And we just go for it. So we've always had trouble weaning down records. Like, we've tried to put albums out with 25 songs, and the label's like, dude, no, you can't do that. That's why we made like New Empire a double, for instance, because they want 10 songs. So us putting 14 is them compromising with us. We could, you know, we'd put more. So we always have these other songs that we all like. So, you know, doing a deluxe is the only thing that like makes sense to get them out. Jelly Roll wasn't recorded. That was on a whim last year. Me and Charlie went over to a studio, and we wrote that and another song that hopefully comes out pretty soon, one night. So that wasn't recorded. That was after the fact, but we always have a ton of extra material just because we're, you know, we like to write.
Okay. And then, so you had the extra songs, and then that song with Jelly Roll, you guys wrote that with him then?
Yeah.
Or was the song done and he just kind of featured on the record?
Our managers hit us up and said, hey, you should work with this guy Jelly Roll. Or they said, just go meet with him. So we went there. We had no idea what the point was meeting, but we're like, fuck it, why not? So he walked in the room, like we were sitting there waiting for like 45 minutes. Then he walks in the room. He's like, what's up, fuckers? So then like, you know, okay, this is going to be cool.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So then we sat and talked about whatever. And then he's like, well, I have no fucking clue why the fuck we're meeting and why we're sitting here with each other, but I hope that we get to make some music together. So we went to his studio, which he has like this compound here in Nashville on Music Row, or he used to. So he played us a bunch of songs, and one of them that he played, we're like, oh shit, play that one again. It was really fucking good. So he's like, oh, you guys like this song? We'll do a verse on it. So Johnny and I did a verse on that one, and then we're like, hey, we should write one from scratch too, like one that's not already pretty much done. So then we got an acoustic guitar and wrote House of Mirrors, like started writing it at 12 or midnight and finished at 6 in the morning when the sun was up.
Yeah, all in one night we did that, from nothing to being done. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. It was
Nothing to
fun.
being recorded in the version that is
Yeah.
up now. Wow.
Yeah, dude. Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Oh, that's amazing. And yeah, and you guys just got off of playing a bunch of festivals and you're doing a bunch of big shows coming up in the
Yeah, we're going to Europe in a
summertime.
couple weeks for the summer festivals, which will be interesting. It's our first time back since the whole debacle with COVID and stuff. So
You guys were in Europe, is that what you said when COVID happened?
yeah, well, dude, we were in the middle of a tour and like slowly they were like clamping down on numbers and less people were coming. And then finally at one show we would find out whether we were playing the next day, the night of the other show.
Oh,
And it was just like that. So we played outside of Frankfurt and that was it. Like they called it that very same day. This is the last show because the next country, I think it was France, had nixed all the shows.
Yeah.
So we did about half of it, and then we were in a rush to get flights, and it was crazy because Frankfurt, Germany has a lot of expats, and everybody was trying to get the hell out to go to wherever they're from. So the airport was like chaos, and when we took off, dude, I was like, oh, thank God, because it was touch and go, because you don't know if you're going to be able to get out, and they're saying the border is going to shut down the next day.
Yeah.
So everybody was like, going haywire, but it was a weird experience, dude, because all these places that you were reading about, like Madrid, we were just in Madrid, and then Milan had some big blowout, and we were just in Milan. So everybody's wondering, like, Emma, do I have this shit too?
Right.
And yeah, we all everybody made it home safe and sound. So, but yeah, that was, I mean, it's weird because I want to say how weird it was for me, but it was obviously weird for fucking everybody.
Yeah.
That's the weirdest thing too, is you could talk to people from all over the world and everyone was in the same
Everybody
position.
had some crazy psychological issue. I turned into a drunk. It was weird. And I also did some good things. Like I cleared out my garage and built like a gym in there. Then I turned into a drunk and didn't use it. But it was just like, you have way too much fucking time on your hands and you're like, you start losing it. It was just a weird experience overall.
Wow. Yeah. Were you seeing any sort of like numbers change like at your shows? Like when it was touch and go was like, oh,
yeah, it was
sold
dwindling.
out, but it was like half the people actually attended or whatever like that.
The last show was like sold out, but like half the crowd was empty because people were starting to get scared at that point. And then they finally put a clamp on the number, so all the rest of the shows were canceled. But yeah, it was like trickling downward, and no one really knew what was going on. And of course, you start getting, because we had to go home. My wife was like, "Oh, are you gonna come home or stay in a hotel?" I was like, "Bitch, we're gonna stay in a fucking hotel, all right? If it's COVID, not me." It was weird going back to that. We all have kids and shit. I'm like, dude, because no one really knew what it was going on.
No one knew what was happening. Yeah, exactly.
So it was like being in a fucking zombie movie. I remember going to the airport. We were landing in Arizona before we flew home, and the bathroom line to wash the hands was like really long because everybody was scared. And I'm like, weren't you guys washing your hands before? Because I've never seen a line like this.
Yeah, they're doing the happy birthday song or whatever.
But yeah, man, it was a wild experience, I think, for everybody. And I mean, it's the first time that's happened in modern history. And the internet, you see everything. So it's weird. It's weird because it connected everybody, even though it was a negative connection. Everybody in the world was kind of going through the same thing at once. And I don't know of another time that's happened.
No, I can't think of it either. Were you guys writing during that time period at all? Or was it kind of like,
yeah, we did like a live stream. We went to LA, did a live stream. Then we started recording Hotel California during COVID.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I remember because the producer came in a mask and we said, "Take that shit off, bro." But he's from LA, of course. So he's like, but yeah, no, we were recording and we stayed fairly busy. Jordan and myself, Charlie and myself, both released solo albums because we had the time.
We were writing for other artists too, right?
We wrote with Zero, 936. We did some stuff with From Ashes, a bunch of bands. But then we both put out solo albums because we finally had time to like write our own shit. So we did that. So no, we stayed busy and stuff like, but it's weird, we've been on tour for 15 years and all of a sudden you're not doing it anymore. But it was an interesting thing being home that long because since we started, it never happened.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Wow. And I didn't realize both of you guys put out solo records. And you're writing. Are you still writing for other people, or is that something that now that everything's open, you got Hollywood Undead going?
Yeah. Here and there, we work with other people still.
Who is that behind you? Is that a gun? Someone with a gun?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's Jack. Yeah, he's got the salt gun, the fly.
I just saw a gun. I was like, dude, you're about to get assassinated. Yeah, we still write with other peeps. the jelly roll thing was really fun. So we're definitely looking forward to doing that stuff again. But we're actually, after the European run, we're doing a run in the States with Tech Nine, and then I think we'll get back and, you know, do another album and keep going.
Amazing, amazing. Well, thank you both so much again for doing this today. I appreciate it. It was great to see you, Johnny, on the camera instead of via the phone.
Maybe now that you're here, dude, maybe we could do one in person sometime.
No, I would love that. I would love that. And I just have, like I said, one more question. And I just want to know what the craziest tour story you guys have. Actually, I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
My advice is to be unique. Like, everything sounds so similar and so cookie cutter. Like, if it's like the metal thing or if it's the trap thing, it's like, it's so redundant that I would say try to be unique and don't follow what other people are doing. That's what worked for us. Like, when our music came out, it sounded like nobody else, and before that, in the bands we were in, we were trying to sound like somebody else, I'm sure. So I would say just be original.
Love it.
Yeah, I would say make sure you love it just for the sake of doing it itself, not because you think you're going to make money or you're going to be famous or any of that stuff. Because I think one of the reasons we got to where we were is because we stuck it out because we loved it, and we would have done it for free anyway. So I'd say to any aspiring artist, make sure you're doing it for the right reasons, not some result that may or may not come. Just make sure you love what you're doing, and the rest will kind of fall into place.
Bringin' it back.